Hello again, I'm Greg from Hola English with Greg, and welcome to the Confident English Fluency series. This is video number 2 of this 3-part series, and in this video I want to speak to you about how to speak English fluently if you lack the vocabulary. So if that's a problem that you have, if you constantly think, I don't have the vocabulary to express myself well in English, you do. You just need to watch this video to find out how to do it. So keep watching. Alright, as I said before, this is a 3-part video series. Remember to look at the description of this video for links to the other 2 parts of this video series. Right, so you're speaking English. You're doing okay, but then suddenly you get to a word that you need in English and you don't know the word. So what do? Well, normally, you panic. The conversation comes to a uncomfortable end and you just feel a bit stupid and want the world to open up and swallow you. Right? Well, sometimes. But it's not a big deal. Do you really expect to know every word in the English language? I don't know every word in the English language, and I'm a native English teacher. So why should you? And what can you do to work your way around this problem? To help me explain this to you, let me first tell you that I speak Spanish fluently. I speak French fluently. I also speak some Italian too. Spanish was the 3rd language I learned, and it's also the one that I speak the best. Now, yes, I live in the country, I live in Spain, but the most important thing was that when I was learning Spanish, I knew something that I didn't know when I was learning French or Italian. And that is, you don't need to know all the words you think you need. You only need to know how to explain those words, or how to describe those words. Okay? So you don't need to know all the words. You just need to know how to be able to describe them and how to be able to explain them using more simpler vocabulary. As I said, I live in Spain, and to be honest with you, I consider my Spanish vocabulary to be quite ridiculous. Sometimes I say to myself, how and why do I know this word in Spanish? I have a very, very wide vocabulary. But yesterday, I wanted a drill from my neighbour. So I was speaking to my neighbour and I just wanted a drill. And I said, hey, can I have, could you lend me your... And I thought, wow, I don't know the word for a drill in Spanish. So what did I do? Did I panic? Did I just run away? No, of course not. What I did was, I said, have you got a... I'm sorry, I don't know the word in Spanish. It's a machine that makes holes in the wall. And of course he understood me. Of course. He said, un taladro, sí señor, and gave me the drill. Brilliant. Easy. I didn't know the word. I didn't need to know the word. I maintained a fluent conversation and I got what I wanted. So listen, there are basically 3 things that you can do if you lack vocabulary or if you don't know a word that you think you should know in English. The first thing you can do is describe it, and keep it simple, okay? When you're describing something, just keep it very simple. You can use extremely simple vocabulary to get whatever you want in English. I remember when I first came to Spain and I wanted a 3-way adapter for my bedroom. A 3-way adapter. And I was in a shop and I saw someone who worked there and I said, excuse me, senor, do you have a... And I thought, what the heck? My level of Spanish is basic. I don't know the word for 3-way adapter. So I said in my very basic Spanish, I said, I have a television. I have a lamp. I have a radio. I want to use them all at the same time. Help. And he said, I was like, Okay, he said, and I went and he gave me a three-way adapter. Yes. I think in that moment, I really realized, wow, even with basic language skills, you can at least describe or explain complex vocabulary and complex thoughts in a foreign language. Okay, the second thing you can do if you don't know a word in English is guess it. That's right, guess it. And I mean, if your mother tongue is French or Spanish or Italian or Portuguese, a lot of the time you can guess it. I'm not too sure about other languages because I don't really know them, but those languages with the Latin root, if you take the root of the word and then add a typically English ending to the sentence and put your best English accent on, you can often guess a word correctly. A Spanish example would be that if you want to know the word sostener in English, you would take the root, sos, and add an English ending to the word. Words in Spanish that end in tener usually end in tain in English. So, sustain. Great, you guessed it right. Obtener, obtain. You guess it, you take the root, you add a typical English ending, and you guess the word. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you will get a confused look from this person you're talking to, but it's worth trying. It's always worth trying. All right, and the third thing that you can do is use your hands and facial expressions. You know, if you do this, you can say a lot more in English than you think you can. Using the earlier example, I could have asked my neighbour for a drill without any words. I could have said, and he would have probably understood me. So be creative. Don't be afraid to express yourself with your hands, with your face, and you can actually express yourself in English and keep the conversation going without worrying about the fact that you don't know a particular word in English. Now, one extra tip I want to give you on this topic is once you do this and once you get what you want, so for example, when my neighbour gave me the drill, ask the person what it's called in English. Okay? Just say, hey, what's this called? Or what's the name of this thing? And when they tell you, try to repeat it. It's much easier to remember it then if you actually use it in context in English. So next time you want the word, it's up there and you'll probably remember it. So in conclusion, don't focus on the words that you don't know in English. Just focus on the words that you do know. All right, and use those words to explain and describe what you need to say in English. Don't panic. Don't be afraid to use your hands. Don't be afraid to use your facial expressions. And if the worst comes to the worst, guess. But most importantly, don't panic. If you panic, you'll get your head all stressed and it will become even more difficult to maintain a fluent conversation in English. So just stay calm. Alright, remember this is video number 2 of a 3-part series. If you want to see the other 2 videos in this Confident English Fluency series, the links are in the description and also at the end of this video. So please check them out. Alright, thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.